Morning everyone, just about to hit the trail. I thought I'd talk more about layering in this video. It's October, it's now between 4 and 6 degrees there this morning, but I can feel the sun coming up over the hill, kind of warming the cheeks, so maybe I'll strip off and stuff, but I thought I'd take a chance to talk about that. But before I finish up talking about navigation, over the past kind of week and a bit, I've talked about lured, some nighttime navigation. I've talked about first stick, last stick, which is another form of solar navigation. I also talked about maybe some tips and tricks of using the sun and that when you're on the trail and to help you find your way. And all these things can be compiled together. If you haven't got a compass, I wouldn't recommend just using one of these systems, but using like first stick, last stick to check your lured from the night before to make sure you're heading in the right direction, the sun, the trails, all that kind of stuff. You compile it together to make sure that you're kind of moving in the right direction, or at least in the general direction of where you want to come from. I don't normally have a map for the area that I'm in now. I use the Positive Azimuth Uniform Layout System or PAL mapping to kind of explore areas a little bit, but I am in a forestry car park and I do have a pointy 10 peg and there is a map on the wall behind me, so I thought I'd share with you just some quick tips, some maybe like three, 4 or maybe 5 rules on just so you can look at a map and you won't get lost. Some terminology, because to first kill the beast you have to know its name, so bear with me. Here we go. So we're looking at a map. This is one of my favorite areas to explore and I don't mind sharing it. I know some people are never too quick to share what they explore, but this is a big place. There's enough room for everybody. Alright, first things first, down the map you got your legend, you got your forestry roads, your forestry tracks, paths, viewpoints, etc. and your different type of woodlands. Everybody should kind of know how to read a legend, but they're pretty self-explanatory. But some of the tips that I think I should share with you, again, in the nomenclature, and it's always good to know, especially if you're just out on a day hike like this with your family and stuff like that, and you just want to know where you're going. The first thing you want to look at is your backstop. And this is why I love exploring trails like this, and this is what I'll kind of look for on a map. I want to explore in here. You know, this is a fantastic place. You got water sources, forestry roads, it's a coniferous forest. You know, gradients ain't too bad. They're okay. These are your gradient lines here. So what I'll look for is a backstop, which is the first thing you should look for. And this has got a fantastic backstop in the Glen Cree Road, which runs on for a couple of miles, a couple of kilometers, perpendicular to where I want to go. So I'm always looking for a backstop that'll either run east-west or north-south, but in this case, east-west. I'm going to be heading north, or if I decide to head down the mountain and head south, I got this huge backstop here. So what I'll do is, this is the area where I am here at the moment. I'm not down here at the forestry entrance, I'm over here. I'll get out of my car and I'll shoot, this is north, I'll shoot a southern bearing to this road from the car. Now, your compass will only work in straight lines, and this is where it gets some people confused. But this bearing being so big, I'll take a bearing here, we'll say it's 180 degrees for simple terminology. That means I can go off in here, and if I get turned around, I get lost, or suffer from lateral drift, or swing off this way, and I end up over here, because I do tend to veer left with my lateral drift, if I put in my 180 degrees straight line, it'll bring me back to the Glen Cree Road. And that is my backstop. So I know I'll get back to the Glen Cree Road and take some bearings, and you know, I can head back to my car. So that's your backstop. A very important one, and probably one of the most important ones. And it doesn't have to be behind you all the time. You can have a backstop out here in front of you. Say like this guy here. If we look at our legend, it's a forest track, is it? Oh, it's a path. So we can look at this path here, and this could be our backstop. So if we decide to go exploring from here, walk straight line because we want to get into the woods, and then this is again a pretty good backstop because it's pretty substantial. If I veer off to the left, get lost, or you know, this happens to be a bit of a steep terrain, and head up here, once I hit this forestry track, I may have missed where I wanted to go, which could be this creek or this bridge here. I may have missed where I wanted to go, but I'm still not lost because I found this forestry path, and I'm like, oh, I'm after going too far. I can dial in my reverse bearing and walk back to my backstop. You always want to box yourself in as best you can, and this is a very good area for it. So backstop and another backstop up here. The next thing to remember would be handrails. Handrails are the same as backstops, but they're things that you can follow. Instead of escaping back to this backstop and overshooting to get to this backstop, a handrail like this river here or this creek here is something that you can follow, that you're not going to get lost, that you can use quite simply as a handrail. So I can head down this track a bit, get to this forestry road. I got my backstop here in the forest path, which I don't want to overshoot. I can follow this handrail with the river on my left, exploring as I go, crossing my two paths, hitting my backstop, realizing this is as far as I want to go. Turn around 180 degrees, put in my bearing in my compass if I need it, or just keep the river or the handrail on my right hand side and I can walk back to where I go. Backstops, handrails. Next thing you want to kind of remember when you're doing it is a thing called blazing. So if you've decided that you're going to follow this creek all the way up here, but you want to explore this coniferous area in here, or maybe you want to explore this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous boxed in area here. Oh, he's getting the map nerves. The nipples are getting hard. So this beautiful boxed in area here, because you got handrails and backstops for days. What you do is, if you're following the river on your right hand side and you decide to get to here, you blaze. So you can either mark the trees, which I don't recommend doing, or you can kind of put a shemag here, a bright orangey coloured shemag, or a t-shirt, or a large piece of material, and then you're free to explore, keeping this material in sight around there, and you can blaze your way through and mark the trails if you own your own forestry, but just leaving things there to do. Last thing I'll talk about is a thing called aiming off. So aiming off is kind of a way of using lateral drift to your advantage. So if we're exploring around in here and I know that maybe I want to walk straight line back here, that I don't want to come out and use my handrails and stuff like that, what I can do is aim off. So we can see here that we got gradient lines, 400 meters, 300 meters, and the bits in between. So when you're walking back, and especially if you suffer from lateral drift, say to the right, these gradients are going to play an effect on you, and you're going to walk like this. It's just how it's going to be. So you can use that and aim off. So you want to get to here, you can aim off, and you know once you hit this road, this huge backstop down here, that you're good to go. So you can work with your lateral drift, not get afraid, and just aim off slightly there. So there you go, just a few tips. And this again is a very beautiful map for the example. But backstops, there and there. And again, these keep you from getting lost. Again, like I said, even if you miss where you're going, once you hit that, you're still not lost. Have an escape azimuth to get back to here, or maybe an azimuth to get there, but have your escape azimuths before you leave your car. Have a backstop as big that runs perpendicular to the trail, and find these beautiful areas where you can box yourself in and follow handrails like the river or the road or the forestry path, depending on which way you want to explore. It'll keep you from getting lost and allows you, like me, to enjoy these woods. Time to hit the trail. I'll talk to you guys there. So, mincing the trail. That's probably the end of the navigation bits for a while. You know, they're the basics, and everybody can build on that foundation knowledge. But I just wanted to give a few honourable mentions while I'm mincing. Steve Armstrong, my brother with the beard from the UK. Thank you for the buffalo and being Steve. It's a gorgeous vintage one. And again, probably one of the, no sponsors, no nothing, probably one of the best bits of clothing that you can ever buy. Shout out to Anthony Awaken. Mad props, dude. Love what you do and keep doing it. You can check him out on Instagram. He's probably one of the best gear photographers that there is going. A great guy. Show him some love. And also to Jack McCormick, a young guy out kind of trying to find his place in the world, but also a brilliant article writer. Puts his heart and soul into every article. And this week, funnily enough, or today actually, I don't know when this video will go out, but today he's on his way to the Buffalo Factory to write an article for Danny and Borg at the Bushcraft magazine. And it's going to be worth checking out. Ooh, those water sources. And it's worth checking out. But it also made me think a little bit about layering. We're getting into October. I got my pumpkin spice hat on and I'm killing the trails. Look at that. Not a bad place to be walking in. In fact, that's a picture mode. One sec. Bam. That's one for the happy folder. But it made me think a bit about layering. My clothes changed this time of the year, except the kind of base layers kind of stay the same. I am trying out some new base layers now. Wait, you check this out. Shout out to a Klima, but kind of got a bit of a Rocky Horror Picture Show red fishnet affair going on. But I change my clothes this time of the year, and it is that time of the year where kind of some worlds tend to smash together. You got people who are out in the forest all day, primitive living experts, you know, hardcore bushcrafters who who may be doing their thing and stuff like that, who are now coming inside. Maybe the weather's getting a bit bad, there's those few days that you can't get out and stuff like that. And then there's people, sometimes the same type of people, who are saving up their dollars all year. It's coming up to Christmas. Maybe their wives or partner said there's a bit of extra cash in the funds and they want to buy something new. So you're getting an awful lot of questions being asked. What type of backpack should I buy, or any recommendations, etc, etc. Now, I'm a gear tester and a gear reviewer, so that's kind of what I do all day long. But the one things that I would share is, if you're going to ask those questions, just like when you're buying a knife, most people will know about design, intent and purpose and stuff like that. You should look at your clothes and your equipment the same. Before asking, just so you can filter through and get the right information for the right product of what you're intending to do, is figure out what it is you're intending to do. Say, for example, if you plan on doing a bit of bushcraft in your local forest, you don't have to do any hiking or any kind of real strenuous movement. You're not going to be dealing with something like that monster, which has no tree coverage, very changeable weather, high elevation, you know what I mean? Ain't gonna find a bow drill up there. But maybe you don't need heavy wool swan tree tops. Maybe ridgeline trousers ain't the man for you. You know, maybe that's more for people who are deer stalking or etc, doing something along those lines. So figure out what it is that you want to do, and then ask the question then appropriately. Say, hey guys, I'm getting into mountain climbing. I want to summit a couple of peaks. Going to be planning on doing it this time of the year. This is the budget that I got to work with. Is there any kind of pieces of equipment you can recommend? Because if somebody's doing a bit of hiking and stuff, I'd maybe recommend the Buffalo, which is again probably one of the best all-around pieces of equipment I could recommend. But if somebody plans, and what they like to do is go a small hike into a local woodland like this, stand around a campfire, carve some spoons and stuff, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But maybe something that's made of Pertex isn't what you want to be standing around a fire with all day long and sleeping close to a fire with. I have done it before, and as you can see from my last Buffalo, it has the Gore-Tex patches to prove it. So it is just there, and the reason why I'm saying it is to help you find the product that you want. Ask the direct audience of the people that you want. Whereas if you just throw up, I'm looking for a backpack, you can get every recommendation from budget army surplus to super technical hiking packs to like the one that I'm running now, my favorite one at the moment, the Savoda, and everything in between. And everything has a place. I love my Fjallravens, I love my technical hiking packs for when I'm out technically hiking. You know what I mean? And maybe I'll talk a bit more about that in this video. But I'm going to just turn off piste. But I believe that we all work hard for our dollars, and I've said it so many times before. But it's best off asking the direct audience that you want to do. If you were going to start fishing, you wouldn't ask somebody who plays golf what to buy. And that's the way I look at it here. There's so many beautiful people in the outdoors world. Hikers and true hikers and bushcrafters and primitive survival experts and stuff like that. And they're all ready to answer your questions. And I believe most people in their heart want to answer questions in the right way. Nobody wants to steer people wrong. So just have a think about what you want to do, where you want to do it, and when you want to do it, and try and find the correct audience to ask. I'm going to have to start running through some brush here, so I'll talk to you guys back in a bit. Wait, let me turn you guys up. So, oi, give me strength. Oi. That's what you get for trying to do a walk on show. So at the start of the video I talked a bit about backstops and handrails and aiming off and stuff like that. I'm about to head into, you can see kind of behind me here, some probably pretty thick brush. I was using the trail behind me as a handrail, so I'm following the trail, staying on the middle of it. I know my main road out there is one of my backstops, or a baseline, if you want to kind of differentiate between the two. Baseline that way and my backstop this way. But now that I'm heading off piste, these things are always interchangeable. Now my handrail becomes my backstop. So I want to head into the forestry behind me. I got myself a compass, and I won't get into how to take a bearing. You know, hopefully there's plenty of videos out there on that, and maybe if you're watching this you already know how to do it. But just to illustrate the point of how things are interchangeable. So the road behind me here, I'm just going to dial my compass in. Still got sand in my compass from from the last stick first stick video. Holding it flat, keeping away from metal, picking a point. Cool. And repeatability is where you want. So I'm happy enough with that bearing. So I'm going to be walking on a bearing straight line of 130 degrees into the woodland. Now, I've got my direction of travel arrow up here and my back to the future arrow down here on my other direction of travel. So if I head into this woodland in a straight line, I know there's a river down here like you're seeing on the map. It's one of my favorite places to go when I'm exploring different parts of that said river, working my way kind of forward and back all the time. But I know that I can follow that line, and now my new backstop is the river. So I can explore in here, wander a bit left, wander a bit right. Maybe I might be the most accurate with a compass, but I know once I hit that river I'm fine. What was my handrail is now my backstop. So when I want to come home, my bearing now at the moment is 130 degrees southeast. I can take my reverse bearing, which is 320-ish down here at the bottom, dial that in to my direction of travel compass, turn around and walk until I hit this backstop, which is the trail, which is huge, and again runs perpendicular to the direction I want to go for a long ways in both directions. So I can come back using this as a backstop, hit the trail, and then I know which way I'm going, and I can use the trail, putting it on my left hand side because it was on my right hand side coming in, putting it on my left hand side, checking where my sun is, and use it as a handrail to get back to where I'm going. So into the brush we go. Little tidbit there. Oh, hello Brister. Just popped over to see this bad boy here. I am no mycologist, but we're talking what, maybe probably Phallicus and Puticus, maybe. Someone can help me out. Again, no mycology expert. But while I came over to have a look at that, I also came over to look at this gnarly bad boy. That's a nice one to find in a coniferous forest. Plus also you can see there's those little bundles I was talking about the other day. Those super dry, almost bird's nest twig bundles. Beasts. Beasts. That was a happy find. If I was starting a fire today, they'd be your man. Lovely big anthill just over there. So it has to be my favourite part about exploring. Just you never really know what you're going to pop across. Got a little grove of mushrooms going on in here. You can see the squirrels have been busy and the deers have been busy eating. But yeah, if anybody knows, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Phallicus and Puticus, possibly. Well, it's been wetter than a dolphin's nose here the past couple of days in Ireland, and you can see the little creek from my videos. It's still a little creek, but it's a little bit bigger than I'm used to crossing. This is a pretty cool one as well, these boys here. I often post pictures of my kids playing in this river, various areas along it, and they always ask me why the water looks so weird, but it's from tannins in the soil and stuff, and this is a great indication of that. This kind of froth that you see building up over here, and this is why I'll either use something like the Grail all the time. Again, is it super bushcrafty? No, but it's a fantastic piece of equipment, but that'll sort that water right job. Or you can take it out and boil it. Not going to give the boil speech, we all know what that is about, but 3 minutes, big bubbles, no troubles, and don't be afraid to overboil water. You're never going to overboil it, and if that's the only method you got, say you're using a brown bag or a Sawyer, you're good to go. I'm just trying to find a way to cross here. Now again, this river ain't exactly the Mississippi. I've been following my straight line bearing on my compass, so I don't want to deviate too far from where I am, but I am going to have to box my way around this. So maybe I'll use blazing, like I talked about earlier on. I might hang a shemag. I've got 2 hats on today. I'm kind of getting toasty, maybe don't need one. I'm only going to the far side of the bank there, but maybe what I'll do is I'll blaze over this side, hang a shemag or a scarf up in a tree, and then try and find a way across there, keeping that shemag in sight. Alright, wish me luck. Let's see if my feet get wet. So, we're at base camp, back at the same river that you see me come to, but just a little further down. And it's nice, I'm after the discovering this wee little thicket here, and I really like it. And I'm going to set up a shelter. I stripped off coming across the river. You'll see it earlier on in the video. And you can see why, maybe it showed a bit of the advantages to why I like technical clothing over the more traditional kind of bushcraft clothing. Again, nothing wrong with it, fit for purpose. But why I prefer to maybe invest my dollars in something a little more technical for when it comes to this kind of stuff. Because it just gives me more options. And if you pick a good brand, there can be an awful lot of good research and development into it. So I thought I'd talk about my October layers, because it's a bit chilly. We start from the head and we'll work our way down. I never thought I would do one of these videos, so bear with me. It's one of those stereotypical strip down type things. I'm not going to talk about my pants. They're Fjallraven number 1 gator trousers, nice and heavy. They split down. In fact, the hell with it, I will talk about them when we get there. Some things I'm happy with, some things I'm not happy with, and they are a very expensive pair of trousers. So first things first, the buffalo. This is a fantastic outer layer, and layering is so important when it comes to kind of doing this kind of stuff. You're looking for something that's light, fit for purpose, gives you a bit of an air gap if you prefer that, because your clothes are your first form of shelter. And that air gap is like a sleeping bag too. Some people prefer it to be really tight, using thicker layers. I prefer my base layers to be tight, my mid layers to be a bit loose, and then my outer layer to have a bit of flex and movement. The one that you see me wearing all the time, you see a lot of the guys wearing all the time, is the Buffalo range. This is a vintage one. It is not the mountain shirt which you normally see me in, but this is the Special 6. Again, given me by Steel, like I said in the early part of the video. It's made of Pertex and is waterproof. It's a weird fabric, you know what I mean? It really genuinely is. But I have loads of pictures and I've taught loads of classes and been on loads of hikes where this has been absolutely saturated. I've stayed warm because it closes, the fabric gets saturated and the pores close a lot like Ventile, but it also is extremely light. Now on the inside of it there's a pile lining, which you can see here, which can be worn close to the skin with nothing on it if that's okay. I prefer to have a few layers underneath it, but this pile is fantastic because it traps the air in between. It is very light, and the Special 6 is long at the back, so it means that I can bend over and stuff and I'm not going to get that cold back. But being technical, for that want of a definition, it's got a little extra features in it. For example, when you're looking at something, especially in outer layer, you want to be able to cuff the wrist close, because again, it's like a sleeping bag. So I'm able to pull this up, close this across, and it helps trap air inside. So I'm not going to lose air up through the neck, I'm not going to lose air through the wrists, and I'm not going to lose air through the bottom. Now, the Buffalo comes with some special features, which is again I absolutely love. It's got a warming pocket, and unlike some of the kind of lower end, lower price value things, this is fully lined, so it's got pile in there. It's also designed that you can put your backpack on and put your straps through here, so you don't have to remove layers, you don't have to get around, you can put your straps through here and be nice and comfortable. Also on the inside is an adjustment strap. So again, like a sleeping bag, you're walking along and things are getting a bit cold and you want to trap that warm air at your core to help with that core regulation, which is so important. You can just reach your hands in and cinch this down and pull it all in nice and tight and trap that warm air in there. This is an extremely warm piece of clothing, and also very light and very packable. You can take it off and throw it in there. You can open it up and let the air out. Should you start getting a little warm, you can let it out here. You can release the wrist cuffs, let some air out there, and also with ventilation and again with body core temperature regulation, you don't want to start sweating. This is a very breathable garment, and even when it's wet, the heat that's generated by your body, this material is light enough, it will dry out as you walk, which is fantastic. But also when you get to base camp, we turn you down again, you got these huge, and again they're baffled over like a sleeping bag. This is always a great touch, and as you can tell, designed by people who are being outdoors. You've got these huge baffles on the side. There's a closer look at the pile lining. So you can open this up. You can also do the same on this side. Open that side up there. And you've got this huge ventilation to clear warm air around from your core, or even if you just get to camp like I have now, and you want to chill, you want access to your blade, you can kind of zip that back down, and you don't have to remove any layers, so you can still walk around camp. It's got a kangaroo pocket up here at the top with a Pertex overliner for waterproofness. The zip is okay, nothing to write home about. But again, a nice kangaroo pocket that's waterproof, so you can keep your maps or your compass or something in there. I wouldn't recommend keeping a phone or anything electronic in there, but just in case. But that's why I prefer technical clothing. You can see where this is kind of going. So that is the buffalo shirt, and even though this is a vintage one, you can see from the old school logo there, the new buffaloes are exactly the same. I don't have the hood. I prefer not to have a hood. I prefer to wear hats and stuff, but you can get a hood which attaches to here and pulls it up, adds extra warmth as well. These are super warm, and they do have proper tested temperature ratings, but everybody's different. Everybody burn speed to use different, and most of these systems, like sleeping bags, like the buffalo shirt, are designed to work in layers. So it's just something to be aware of moving forward. Next of all, it's my hats. Two, you know what I mean? You know you're into technical stuff when you're wearing two hats. But again, it's just some layers. A trick I learned from Johan Skulman in Japan was that you got two layers on here, so you can kind of strip them down. It takes nothing. I'd rather be looking at stuff than looking for stuff. So I got my Bogman beanie on top, which keeps my head warm. I got my visor on my Stanley hat, which kind of keeps the sun out of my eyes. But say, like today now, the sun is shining and I'm getting super warm, I can take this off. I got my ventilation in my trucker's hat. I can still keep the sun out of my eyes, and I can put this in my bag for later on when I'm going to sleep. I can take my peak hat off and put this back on. Sorry, Jesus, the Irish skin. Ah, Christ almighty, Joe, get a tan. So that's why I've started to run two hats. I'm really enjoying them. Let me just turn you guys around here. There we go. Hello, Sticky. I'm really enjoying them. So two hats. Leave them on my bag. So next of all, you're looking at your mid layers then. This is your outer layer, and we're going into my mid layer. Wait. Now again, let's throw this on the ground. Nothing super special. This is by Klima, which is a new brand I'm working with, and I've been fascinated by their products and worn their products before. But Klima are a Norwegian company that specialise in making wool-based outdoor products, and all their design team are outdoors people, and they put an awful lot of research and development into it, as you'll see. This is their 200 gram warm wool, and it's absolutely beautiful, and you can see the quality in it made. These things here are called pulse warmers. Loads of people have different names for them, but that is the technical name for them. But they're pulse warmers, and I absolutely love them. They add a super amount of heat to anything you're wearing as a mid layer. You can see here though, like I talk about with technical clothing and why it's worth going with a brand and stuff that has it, but you can look at the stitching here. The stitching is absolutely amazing. There's no fold over stitching, so you're not getting seams rubbing against you when you're hiking and those type of stuff. And then also, you know, when you buy stuff from a brand and it's built for purpose, you get little additions like this. So that way, like with the buffalo shirt, you're able to access your equipment without losing that core temperature regulation. I use a watch all the time, or sometimes I use a GPS system on my wrist, so I can access it without losing any core regular temperature. I don't have to pull things up and fiddle around with my pulse warmers. I can just pull it open, and there's no direct access, there's no wind hitting my skin or to burn it on the colder days. So that's one feature about this that I absolutely love. And the fact that it's light and it's warm. Next of all, the fit. When it comes to wool, you always want to buy a size larger. Because if you can take anything away from this dress down video, it's buy something that's a size larger. Wool is always made small, and the Klima is no different there either. But it's long, tapered, fits well, and moves with the body, which is what you want. When you got a backpack on, or you're swinging an axe, or you're bending down and brush like the buffalo, you're looking for something that's going to keep your back. Core temperature regulation is so important. So anything that stops you losing heat, or the elements coming into contact with your bare skin to lose heat through convection and stuff, is always good to go. Now, again, technical clothing. It's like a complicated drinking game. Take a shot every time Joe says technical clothing, and we'll all be drunk come the end of it. This has a ventilation zip here, and the cool thing about it is that there's also a kangaroo pocket on the front here, which you can access and pull down. And none of the zips come in contact with you. You wouldn't even know that they were there. Again, seamless and smooth and fits well. The same with the neck zip here. Now the neck zip works like a regular zip, so you can open it up, cool down. I have one of just a regular Klima merino wool t-shirt on to absorb the sweat between there, to act as a kind of a barrier. So you can see here, super light, but the zip works like a regular zip. But then again, maybe you don't want to do that kind of stuff and you just want to release a bit of warm air from your chest. So the zip works in reverse, and you can be like some sort of hiking superhero. But again, very cleverly thought out. Doesn't stop there. Next of all, maybe it's getting a bit chilly and you're working with the buffalo. You got yourself a neck buff. A very well designed neck buff that comes down over the zip, and again, you can open up, let some air out from your core. You don't have to remove your neck buff and stuff like that. And also, if it's getting even chillier again, you got yourself a bandana, and you can look like a monk from the 17th century as you run around. But you can imagine now if you're wearing a buffalo and a beanie hat and you got a tight fitting merino wool kind of vibe going on up here, you're cool in the gang. It also acts as just a regular hood and buff. So again, you can see technical clothing isn't to be mocked at. You know, it's fit for purpose and serves you well. Next of all, I'll just pull this off. Bear with me. Got my t-shirt on. The t-shirt needs no introduction. It's just a merino wool t-shirt. And then underneath it, I got the base layer. This is their hiking wool, 150 gram. It's really light. Yeah, am I impressed with this red, right said Fred, 1980s fishnet stuff going on? No, I ain't. But it's super warm and super breathable. It acts, like I was saying, like the way sleeping bags work, and it traps warm air in these pockets here and acts as a barrier or a layer between your clothes. But also, if you get to base camp like me and you need to cool down really quick, you can strip off your layers and the wind will move through this like there's no problem. The base layers are exactly the same. Fit and finish, absolutely beautiful. No seams rubbing, nothing to annoy your backpacks. I'll just step back a little bit. You can see there, all ventilated down here. Absolutely fantastic. So again, you can see putting the thought into your clothing as you do in your tools is absolutely critical. I'll talk a bit about my trousers now, just because people will ask. So what my trousers are, maybe we'll put the camera on the ground. So what my trousers are the Fjallraven #1 gator trousers. They have the stereotypical Johan designed pockets on the front here, which are great, keeps things away from the back, rubbing on your backpack, etc, etc. Nice big pocket bellow designed ones. There's a little pocket on the inside of the right leg for a multi-tool if you want it. And again, layering. These are super warm and you can wax them to make them waterproof, but I wear a poncho, so I never really worry about waterproofness. And then also, one of the great features about this is when you're on the move and you're hiking, you can unzip this. You're going to see the sexy right said Fred leg liners. You can zip it down and it becomes a gaiter. A gaiter that you, like an actual properly functioning gaiter with boot clips on this end. And then you can cinch it in up here. If you want to wear them as a knee-high gaiter, or if you just want to wear them as an ankle gaiter, wear them down here. Or you can just open up the zips and allow for a bit of ventilation to get in and around and regulate your core temperature a little bit better. My boots are the scandal-causing Vivo trackers. Am I impressed with them? Yes, they're super comfy. The best shoes I've ever personally worn in the woods. Build quality is absolutely shit. Absolutely shit. Have I lost an eyelet? No, but I'm not overly impressed with them. Again, you can see all this stuff has baffles. There's a baffle on the inside of the leg there. Another baffle over the zip. Again, to help with core regulation temperature. So there you go. They're my trousers and my shoes. I ain't going to go for a massive in-depth expert review, but that's why I wear them. You can see that I have this system. I treat my tools and my clothes exactly the same. Can it do more than one purpose? Is it fit for more than one purpose? And I wouldn't shy away from technical clothes. Back in the day, things like this used to be really expensive. You know, especially wool products, and especially well-made, environmentally friendly wool products used to be very expensive, but times aren't like that anymore. You can shop around on the second-hand market, and investing good money in your clothes, which is your first line of defense, and in some bad situations can be your last line of defense, is not a bad investment. Even look at it this way. Kind of like a wedding ring. You're supposed to be spending 10% of your income on a wedding ring. Is kind of a rule of thumb. I don't know who invented it. But if you can spend $300 on a knife, you can spend $300 on your clothes. Both are equally important in my
because core temperature regulation, and most people don't know this, but what kills people outside is exposure. That's why I'm always really cautious about crossing these rivers. People think I might be a bit of a wuss. I just like to take my time when doing it, because what gets most people outside is bleeding and freezing, or exposure to the elements in general. So you can counteract two of the biggest risks by just being safe and just putting in a bit of research into your clothes. So now I think what I'm going to do is get my layers all back on and souped up. I'm going to leave the buffalo off for a while and put up a shelter. Maybe we can talk a little bit about shelters, because I fancy just lying down, drinking some water and reading a book. So stay with me. So as you can see, the sun is no longer shining off my pasty Irish face. In fact, there's a bit of cloud coverage coming in, and I just want to practice my shelter setup anyway. But a little pro tip when it comes to looking at shelters, like the way we have acronyms for LURD and LSFS and PAL and BUF and all the things from first aid and stuff, there's also 3 little tips that you can remember when you're looking for shelter, if you're either going to build your own or if you're looking for a natural one, maybe in the landscape, is in, on and under. You're looking for something to sleep in. So that could be a debris shelter you made, sleeping bag in a bivvy, could be anything like that, but you're looking for something to sleep in. You're looking for something to sleep on, which is your bedding. Could be anything again, sleeping bag, thermarest, maybe something natural that you built. For me today, it's going to be the new all-weather blanket from SRO. It's kind of a reinforced grabber, and I'm kind of trialing it out at the moment. Pretty happy with it so far, but that's what I'm going to be sleeping on. And then under, that could be anything from, again, a debris roof. It could be a natural shelter like a cave or a ditch, or today it's going to be my DD ultralight tarp as standard for the course. Using my quick deploy ridgeline, which I always carry with me when I'm out in the woods as part of my shelter system, in an easy access part of my bag. I'm going to get my shelter ridgeline set up really quick. But just thought I'd share that with you, something to remember. Again, another acronym to keep in the head: in, on, under. Cool. Let's get to it. Okay, so after hitting a bit of a snafu, you can see here now that my ridge line up here ends here. So I now no longer have enough ridge line to be able to put in a trucker's hitch. Sure, could I lash it around the tree, but happy accidents. Maybe it's time to show a little lesson, so I'll see what I can do with this, and I'll show you something using Prusix and a way to do it. Bear with me. Back in the game, some quick adjustments. This is why it's always good to practice these things on a nice cool day when you're not kind of needing them. But I thought, and again, happy accidents. Normally, on my quick deploy ridgeline, which is 101 videos on from Dave and Sean and an awful lot of guys out there, I have 3 Prusik loops. People add 2, I have 3, and I like it because it allows me to tie up the tarp and it gives me a Prusik in the middle should I want to hang my head torch and stuff off it. But although I could take most of these trees here behind me, you can see that there's pretty expansion and the ground is waterlogged absolutely everywhere. So this is where I want to sleep, or this is where I want to at least rest my head for a while. I've slung my ridgeline around this tree and it is too short. It's too short. But an easy fix, an easy fix. So I've taken my furthest out Prusik loop here. Sorry for staring at the camera, how unprofessional. My third out Prusik loop here. And what I've done is added a fourth one here. This is a trick that I seen Josh Henyard, the Grey Bearded Green Beret channel we're checking out. He showed this to me, and Dave has a great video on it too. But what I've done is added another down and dirty Prusik loop at the end, because my line already has a stop knot. That's not going anywhere. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put you in the tree here, and I'm going to show you how to use 2 Prusik loops as a kind of a winch. Let's get you up here. We're doing it live, so bear with me. Okay, so I think we might be good there, possibly. As you can tell, I ain't no master in editing. Perfecto. So I've got my Prusik loop here, and I got my Prusik loop here, my short-ended ridge line. So what I'm going to do is create a toggle, because I got my toggle in the far end here, using a 10 stake. And I'd rather use 10 stakes for something like this, because you can always make one to hold your tarp down and keep it on the fly. Shooting this in real time, so again it's not taking too long to add an extra Prusik loop. I can slide this down here, get it to where I need to be, and create a toggle to toggle connection with my 10 stake, like so. And then what this allows me to do is crank on this Prusik loop. Keep cranking, and this will tension up my ridge line. It'll bring around here. So Prusik to Prusik or toggle to toggle connection. So I'm just going to wrench on this. Get it where I need to go. And that will keep moving down. Work it around the tree. Bring it around a bit. Work it around the tree. Always working. You can hear it tightening up on the top there. And voila. Like a banjo string. Let me get you back down out of the tree. Take a closer look. So there we go. Hey, get around the far side. Oh, snippy roots. So there you go. Adding a Prusik loop to the end of your line, which should have a stop knot in it to prevent this kind of coming off. Prusik loop on the end of your line with a stop knot. Another Prusik loop on your main line, going back to your tree, and a toggle to toggle connection. And you can keep wrenching on that. That is banjo string tight. So there you go. Happy accident. So there you go. Shot in real time, by my explanation. Probably took maybe 4 minutes. Quick deploy ridgeline system. Stuff was packed away in the bag. Again, all pre-prepared before I left home. Quick deploy system, front of the bag, easily accessed. Good strong tarp. Small snafu at this end, but again, easily fixed. Guy lines using marlin spikes, quick to get in the ground, don't have to tie complicated knots. And now I got something to sleep in, and I got something to sleep under. Plus, like that, this was all pre-prepared before I left home to make it really easy access in my bag. And like we were talking about with navigation, knowing the weather buys you time. Knowing the environment and just being outside. I can see that there's rain on the way. I don't mind walking out in it, but I don't want to sit here under it. So I can see rain's on the way. I take 15 minutes, put together my ridge line, and again I encountered a quick problem up this end, but because I recognized the storm front was coming in before it hit me, I was able to fix the problem really quick, and I'm back in the game. Time to get in my shelter. In, on, under. Simple. Bit of pre-preparation saves all the hassle, and I'm still having a good day in the woods. Gonna have a cup of coffee and chill out. I'll check back with you when I'm packing up to hit the trail. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully there's some tips and tricks in that. That's just another day hike in the woods that tipping about, but it was a nice real-time exercise. Weather got a bit bad, thankfully it held off. The ridgeline was too short, and I got a chance to talk a bit about technical clothing. I really enjoy making these videos. It's nice to bring you guys along for a walk and to have some company with all the Forest family. I am now going to use the systems that I talked about at the start and start heading out. I'm going to put my phone in my bag and enjoy the walk out. I'm going to dial in my reverse bearing, like I said, so I haven't touched my compass. I was trying my best to walk a straight line. So I'm now going to just take my reverse bearing, plug that into the top of my compass, like so. Shoot my azimuth back out of here, hit my backstop, which was my handrail, then use my backstop as a handrail to get back to the car park. And that's why I like to share these navigation tips. Navigation isn't really sexy, like I keep saying, until you're lost, but it allows you to do stuff like this and go exploring something a bit more comfortably and with a bit more confidence. And that's what it's all about. Finding beautiful spots like this to rest your head for a while, read a book, have a coffee, practice some skills, make some videos, share some adventures. And navigation is the key to doing that. Navigation is the key to making it home safe. So hopefully you can take some stuff away from the last couple of videos, and if you can take anything away from this video, it's practice your navigation skills. An awful lot of stuff can be practiced at home, like fire, etc., but navigation you really need to be out in the field. And maybe possibly put a bit of research and start looking with new eyes at clothing and your first and last line of defense, which is what you wear on your body. I'm Joe. As always, it's a pleasure, and thank you for all the support and stuff like that. I've got to shoot the podcast tonight with Porrig. It's going to be a fun-filled episode, and I also got another hike to do and a night hike to do with Porrig later on this evening to shoot some stuff and have some fun, practice some nighttime navigation, again, keeping the eye in. So as always, be safe out there. Again, thank you for the support. Thank you for being the Forest family and helping each other grow outside, and we can all explore Mother Nature together. Peace.